camera. Hi everyone. Good morning. There is a Target bag. Oh, good morning everyone. Hopefully the audio is fine, although now it looks like I'm not clipping, but I'm going a little bit louder than I meant to. So please let me know how the volume is and I can adjust things further. But the light in here is really good today, so that has me excited. But hi everyone, I am Rebecca from ChemKnits and welcome to the ChemKnits Dialogue live stream. I am so excited to be back and to do, today probably won't be a super long stream, but we'll see. But to do some version, some attempt of creating some yarn inspired by this lovely apple. Now, this fall every year for Rosh Hashanah we go apple picking as a family. I mean, not on Rosh Hashanah necessarily, but around Rosh Hashanah we do it because part of celebrating the new year, part of the tradition is to eat apples and honey to celebrate a sweet new year. And so, yeah, I felt that it was fun to, the apples were just so pretty. And so I took this picture. I love the speckles on it. Even though I'm not planning to go for speckles, I'll tell you what I'm doing in a minute. This is a dye-along. So if you would like to dye yarn along with me, you can submit the pictures of the yarn or fiber or fabric that you dye inspired by the same inspiration photo with me on Facebook. If you go to the ChemKnits Facebook page, I did not update the link in the video description, but I will in just a moment. I'll update the link in the video description so you can go straight to that post. You can reply with a photo comment there. Or you can also share your yarn on Instagram with the hashtag ChemKnitsDialog. However, if you want me to be able to include the photo from Instagram, because I might not be able to find it when I go to do the recap, we have a new Google form where you can send me the link to your Instagram post, or you can upload pictures there directly as well. And that is, I believe, correctly linked down below. Let me fix the Facebook link. I'm just ChemKnits on Facebook, so that should be very easy to find. There we go. Save. And where's the Google form? Here it is. If you've already submitted the yarn on Facebook, you do not need to use the Google form. And let me see, I could use 5 monitors over here, that would be great. Okay, and this is what the submission form looks like. You can upload up to 5 photos and share links, or I think this link should take you straight to the ChemKnits Facebook page, and it does. And so the name that you want credit, and just in case you're submitting pictures from a past dialogue that you want to see, this did work great. It sort of organized, it named the pictures based on your name, and so that was really, really handy. And so then you can, pick, because if you've already replied with the Facebook photo, I can find that, so you don't need to submit that here, but I included that just as instructions. And the email address associated with this, that's not an email that I check, so that's not a great way to get in touch with me because I will not see it. But there is that. Now, other announcements. Okay, well, I may as well start here. The ChemKnits Hanukkah samplers are now available for pre-order. There are samplers available in both fingering and DK weight yarn. And basically, over Hanukkah, each of the 8 nights of Hanukkah, there will be a new yarn dyeing video. And the samplers contain at least one 10-gram mini skein from each of the 8 nights. So you'll have packages, at least 8 packages labeled 1 through 8 for you to open on the corresponding night and watch how the yarn was dyed. This isn't necessarily intended for the yarn to all be a fade set or anything. The colors, there are some colors that go together really, really well, and then there's a variety of different techniques and colors. I try to have a range of different things. So But the goal is to have a variety of different types of yarn and types of colorways and techniques, so that way you can see how different types of yarn might work up, whether variegated or speckled, or maybe something soft like a layered tonal. And so you can see, okay, this is what the yarn looks like twisted versus this is what it looks like knit. But I've actually been really impressed when people have used them all in one project. It's been like a really nice scrappy look to it. And so I'm excited. And I'm pleased to say that I have dyed, I have to wash one of the nights, but I've dyed I've dyed 5 of the 10 mini skeins that'll be in the sets. But this corresponds to 3 nights. So 2 of the nights will each have 2 10-gram mini skeins. And that's the way that I'm setting that up this year. But there's also fun extras and a lot of other stuff. So 100 grams total. And yeah, if you pre-order the yarn, you can also add on a full skein, a full 100 gram skein of yarn. There is a superwash merino silk fingering weight yarn. There is a non-superwash merino silk Selena sparkle yarn that's DK weight. And then there's some different options for a yarn mop that will be from one of the 8 nights or the bonus night. And there are options there still available in sock DK or worsted. And for those, the yarn base is going to be, for the yarn mops, it's going to be superwash merino based, but may include nylon. So there's a variety of different yarn bases that I am using there. And if you're curious what a yarn mop is, when I'm dyeing yarn, if I'm dealing with dry dye powders, sometimes you have powder on your gloves. And so I'll take that and I'll wipe it on a skein of yarn, which gives a really cool, sometimes somewhat speckly, somewhat mottled effect. But I also sometimes use yarn mops if I'm dyeing in a kettle and there's excess dye in there that I want to soak up. And so I want to sort of remove and mop that dye out of the kettle so that way I can use that dye bath again for something else without that residual dye affecting the next color. And so those are 2 ways that I use mops. But the yarn mop could also be a leave no dye behind skein or some other type of colorway that I dye over the course of the video. And so it's a lot of fun. So there is all of that. And I'm trying to think if I have any other announcements. KnitPicks is having a Halloween sale. So I am a KnitPicks affiliate, which means I do earn commission if you make a purchase through my link. And I'm adding a link to, I think it's just the main KnitPicks page, but you can find the sale banner there. But you can save up to 30% off all black, gray, purple, and orange yarn. I'm not sure. Okay, we've got some pastels. Some of those gray pastels would work well for over dyeing, and well, that's Brava. That's 100% acrylic. That would be hard. But yeah, some of these pastel, like dove gray colors would work really, really well for over dyeing. And so sometimes if you're looking for yarn on a discount, I like to just, I used to buy a lot of pastels. And so that is an option. Oh, no. I'm all over the place today. Oh man, is this my first dyeing stream back? Probably. Adding the apple over there. I don't think I have, yeah, I didn't quite set this up. Is there audio here? Yeah. But I can grab my face, copy from there, bring this over. Okay, so we have that just in case I need it. I'm like, okay, all set up. Oh my goodness. I don't remember what else. Okay, but I want to dissolve some yarn. So my plan this morning is I want to attempt to dip dye to break a color mixture. And the way I'm thinking of doing that is to take a primary red and add some radioactive to it, which is a neon green from Dharma. And the reason why I'm thinking about doing this because I think that a little bit of red with that green will make it a little bit more brownish. But also radioactive breaks a lot more yellow, but it's sort of like a greenish yellow that, because whenever like I have radioactive like super pastel, it feels like not quite as highlighter yellow as fluorescent yellow. And so I'm like, I think that that could work, especially because those yellows take longer to absorb. So this may not work. We might just get a dip dyed red, and we're going to play around with the proportions and see if we can get something that works. And I do have, potentially, I can set up a steamer basket, so we won't necessarily have to wait 30 minutes for the dip dyed dye bath to clear every single time. So I'm excited and curious, and we'll see how this goes. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Oh, subscribe. But yeah, then I'll have to, I mean, I have a pot for dip dyeing that's already heating up on the stove, but I'll bring the hot plate, so there'll be time to come and chat in a little bit. Now, at some point, I do want to do a new versus old fire engine red. Is it fire engine red? Yes. Dharma fire engine red video, because the old one was one, and I don't even know if I ever took a screenshot of it. It was one that ran out. It was one that had like some clumps and stuff in it, and I don't think the new one does. The old one had a warning with it. Okay, but we're gonna dissolve some dye because I had not set that up yet. I have a very old stock of radioactive right here. I do have some newer radioactive should we need to mix that up, but we're gonna try to use the old one I have because why not? And now I'm gonna get more muffled because I'm gonna put on my respirator mask, safety glasses, and gloves to deal with the dry dye powder. So I'm gonna be muffly. Now, we're still going to be dyeing by feel a lot, but I wanted to start out measuring the dye just to have a feel. I could make a dye stock, but I've been very anti-dye stock lately. I've been very, I guess my mood has been so much more, let's just measure out the exact amount of dye I need. But then sometimes I end up with leftovers without knowing the quantities, so that's a bit of a pain. All right. I am going to measure out a little over a gram. 1 gram on the nose. Here, I need to tare that to zero out the scale. Let's do we're going to do about 2 grams here. And I guess that's all we'll do for now. I know that's going to knock over. All right, I'm making hot tap water. For some colors, you probably need boiling water, but that's just harder to deal with. And if you have boiling water, that will absolutely melt plastic cups like these. Okay, the 1 gram is in the hard edge cup. And that's going in a secondary container. And here are the 2 grams. And what's funny about this is with the 2 grams, I might use like half of it, but it's not measured out.
So there's times when you do want to make a good dye stock, but sometimes I just don't feel like it. And that's okay. All right, we can get more hot tap water as needed. Whew. So now my mask can come off. It's funny, I don't talk about it a lot, but I try, especially when I'm setting up dye baths and pouring yarn, I try to wear the safety glasses a lot because you never know when like a splash might happen and you just don't want to get anything in your eyes. You need to protect your eyes. And I might need to adjust the camera. That's pretty good, but you know what? Maybe I should do it like this so that way I can easily dip dye. Even though, yeah, I may need to stand on the stool to do this. Don't worry, I'm going to make sure that you guys will be able to see. All right. I'm starting to heat this hot plate up. Now it is hot already. So technically you can see. What's the best way to do this? How high? You can't see that high. Okay, I think that's going to be a little better. Let's see, I guess I can't see the monitor. Okay, you can see my hand only a little bit above it, but okay, that works. I mean, I guess another option would be to bring that even closer to the camera, but I don't think I want to do that. Hello, hello. Yeah, so we're steamy. We just want to make sure things heat up a little bit more, and it takes a while for this base to heat up. But what I can do now is add our gram of red dye. There's a little bit of dye at the bottom of the cup. So we had 24 cups of tap water. There's no acid in here yet, but finishing up the rest of that. This is going to give time for the dye to dissolve, and I'm not seeing wisps of red through there, which is great. But how much of the radioactive should I add? And that is the question. So this did start as a 1% stock solution, and I'm not seeing a lot of dye at the bottom of the container. So, but I don't want to add too much. So I'm just going to try about 20 milliliters. And again, I do have this dye down here, so I could, in theory, add more. But I'm going to add that to our red. And see the color, like, dilute? Now, this could turn a color orange, but I don't think it will. Because our red is not, reds are fairly pigmented. Sorry for the noise, but I mean, that's looking pretty red. And I'm trying to see if I observe any breaking, and I don't. So I think I'm going to want more radioactive, and I'm not going to worry about using it all up. And by using it all up, what I mean, because I'm planning on dyeing 100 grams of yarn at first, I'm not going to worry about running out of it because I can mix more. It's just the danger of mixing more of this color is that we don't really know the ratios of this old dye stock. Because if at one point I used it and I didn't shake it up all the way, then if I didn't use everything in there right away, then it could be more concentrated at the bottom. That really happened one time that I'm aware of. But you can see we've got a red, and I mean, I have no idea if this will break. It might just be a red color. And so we'll see, but there's a chance if I can get those reds to strike. Like, it would be really, really cool if we could get that sort of green color at the end. Now, one other option for dip dyeing is that if this does not work, we could dip dye into radioactive first and do something layered. Here, why don't I sit and chat while we wait for things to heat up. To camera. Okay. Don't worry, I will fix the focus, but I also need to crop this a bit. Transform. Nope. Here we go. Edit, transform. Crop. Let's do 400. Oh no, not 4,000. Okay. And now I can make it bigger. There we go. All right. Which red did I use? I used Fire Engine Red. I used Fire Engine Red. Yeah. So the oh dear, that was too much. And the steam in here. My face is getting bright. What was I going to say? My brain is going real slow today. But we are getting like it's not just the heat from the hot pot. You can hear that it's actively starting to get heated, which is great. Okay, so if this does not work and we don't get the colors to break, you can fake color breaking by dip dyeing yarn into two colors starting from the same end. So a lot of times if I dip dye into two colors, I will dip dye yarn into one color, then I'll move the zip tie 180 degrees, and then dip dye the lightest end first into the next color. So then you get predominantly each main color at either end with more blends in the middle. But what we could do is first dip dye into radioactive and dip dye a little bit quickly, but try to get a lot of that like greenish yellow finish at one end. And then after that, we could dip dye into a red. And so then we have control over how much red and green we have at that other end. And so it would have a feel like broken yarn, but the blue pigments that are in radioactive would still be at the end where the darkest red is. And so that would be in there. And so that is an option of something that we may try depending on if we like where this is going, if it just feels too red, if that radioactive didn't make an impact. I mean, in theory, we have just done 0.4 grams of red to 0.4 grams of green to 1 gram of red. So we'll see. I did try to look this morning to see if I actually still have this exact apple, and I don't think I do. This apple probably ended up in a pie. But there are 3 apples that I photographed. Oh my, those are massive. Scale. Nope. Aha. So we've got the one that I used. We've got the greener one. And then this one, which of course, like, because they're all at, oh, actually, I could take this one, the one in the middle. Oh, funny. No, I need to go this way.
make it about the same size because this is what I'm doing. There we go. Yeah, so those are 3 different apples that we found. I believe, I don't remember if we were in the gala section or, because we mostly got Honey Crisps. But the greenish one, I don't know. I don't think I picked the green one, but yeah, I don't remember exactly where I was when I picked those, but because the orchard we go to has like, you know, a million different varieties or whatever. But yeah, it was just, they were so pretty, and I don't know, it was funny because we went on this, it was a day when it was supposed to be pouring, but it hadn't started raining yet. It maybe was like a hair, like haze, it was hazy for sure. And so our feet got wet, but that was about it. And so there was like no one there. Like, it was eerie for a Saturday morning in September for there to be no one at the orchard. Because I think people were just, we always try to get there when it opens because it's less crowded, and then like, I don't know, you can be like together more as a family without having tons of other people around. Morning! All I did was mix dyes so far. Yeah, so it was fun. But one other comment that showed up before the stream started was about the like water droplets on the apple, which are so beautiful, and part of it, I think with it this small, I can't really see, but if I make it big, there, now you can see as I go out of focus, there we go, you can see a lot of those like water droplets on the apple. And a fun way to play around with this could be to bring down some sparkly yarn. And so depending, I'll go get some sparkly yarn. But the yarn that I am using today for sure is Swish DK, and it's dry. I have not pre-soaked it. And I am going to add the Swish DK to the description. Swish is also on sale with KnitPicks right now. As we're waiting, we'll go back to web browsing, but I minimized this. Okay. Oop. Oh no. Fudge. Oh no. No! Okay, I lost my mouse. Tab. No, I can't do that. How do I get to... No, I want OBS. Okay. Alright. I don't know why and what I did that made my mouse disappear. Sometimes when I go over here, then I lose the mouse, and that's frustrating. Alright, so another sale that is going on with KnitPicks right now is all of Swish is on sale. 20% off of all of Swish. And so that's awesome. That's not why I'm using Swish DK today, but it is good to know. And because there is still this build your own yarn pack, if you add to your cart, say 20 individual skeins of Swish, which are 20% off, and then use the My Yarn Pack code that's right here, you can get an extra 10% off what is already 20% off. And so I haven't retried that in a while, but that has worked, and that is actually one of the best deals that you can do right now. So I do have a KnitPicks wholesale account as well, and it used to be if I bought 100 skeins I could save up to 40%, but they've changed it, I guess, and so now the biggest discount is 30%. So you save 20% off of packs of 20, 25 off of packs of 50, which used to be 30%, and then I think 30% off of packs of 100, but only for certain colorways, or certain, not colorways, it's all very yarn, certain yarn bases. So currently, it means that a deal like this, I think if you get 20% off and then 10% off that, that is a savings of 28%. So that's pretty good. And so that changes the way I think about what I buy, and if I buy through my personal account or through my wholesale account. But Stroll is out of stock right now, so that's just worth keeping in mind. But you do need, yeah, so there are, though, they did bring back bulk 20 packs of the bare yarn. So if you go to, let's go to Swish Worsted. Oh no, it used to be on here. Oh, this is so confusing. Okay, so maybe it's only limited things where they have a bulk 20 pack. And so you get 15% off the 20 pack. So select yarns, you do have that. But on a sale like this, you want to buy the individual yarn because that's 20% off, and the bulk pack is only 15%. So that's me doing what I do. But sometimes people wonder about the big sale, which is like usually right before Thanksgiving with KnitsPicks. It usually ends right before Thanksgiving, and then there'll be a discount. Usually there's a coupon code over Thanksgiving and some really big coupon code for Black Friday. And so sometimes it's a question of like what's worth waiting till then for, because you can only use one coupon code per purchase. But the coupon codes do work off of a bulk 20 pack, assuming they have it in stock. So you always have to balance, like, is the yarn I want low stock, and so well, they might not have it in time for the sale and all of that jazz. But let's go dip dye. And back here. Okay. What else do I need? Oh, wait a minute. I noticed something. Oh, I guess it doesn't help that much. Okay. Let me get my yarn. So we are starting with dry yarn today. And Swish is a yarn that does soak up water quickly. So even though the yarn is dry, we should be able to get something nice in there. But sometimes with it being dry, we get more uneven color at first, which is kind of what I'm going for here today. All right, glasses on. One of these days, because of like the humidity from me breathing, my glasses fogged up so much, and that was hilarious. Okay. But we are on the correct camera, and yes, I can see myself moving, so I know the camera is working, and I can kind of, oh, I'll move it. Like, I'll move the iPad closer so I can read the chat. All right, we're gonna dip dye. Ooh, that is quite red. But you can see that it is, like, for all it's bright, I like the tone of the red. Oh! Well, this is going to mess up my prototype. We don't have any acid in here. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, let's do 8. That might be too much to get the green, like to get breaking. Oh man. What's funny is there is like already a demarcation line from where I added it.
to where we are now. I mean, this is looking quite red. I'm not seeing like a ton of impact from the radioactive. It is very pretty though, but it's definitely my fault for not, it's absolutely my fault for not having acid in there at first. But we've almost dipped most of this in, and I have not, that color is gorgeous, deeper than I wanted. We need less than 1 gram of dye, but I am not seeing much of a shift of the color in the water right now. And we know the radioactive is in there. And so like I'm dipping more and more, and see this shade of red in here, that lighter shade is a little bit closer to what I want, but this red is gorgeous. But we might have to do what my second idea was, and that is dip dye into radioactive first. Ooh, starting to get a feel, and then dip dye into the red. But I'm holding out hope. The red is still deeper than what I would like. See, as I dip in, I'm feeling like maybe a hint of something that's a little less red, but also maybe not. Oh well, I might put this all in a second. Because typically if I'm dip dyeing to break, I like the first color to absorb all the way before I get towards the end. And so even if I had less acid in here now to reduce the rate that the colors were absorbing, yeah, I'm going to add this all in. And so it's pretty. We've got a pretty dip dyed color. It's just not what I was going for. So what I was saying was that even if I had less acid in there to try to make the yellows in there strike a little bit slower, that wouldn't necessarily help us right now, because what we're seeing in here is there's still a lot of reds there. And so therefore we know, okay, we want to do the green first to try to get those yellow colors in there. And then when I do the reds, we could get to this point where like there's not that much red left. You can see that this is very, very pink, what we have left. Hopefully there's not transfer. But we could then take that out and go and steam set it versus keeping it in the pot and use a yarn mop or something. So we do have options, but you know, not every experiment works. So we will play around with doing radioactive followed by red in a little while. But what I'm going to do actually is turn our 2 grams of dye into a known volume. Where is... So we're going to turn that into a little dye stock. Because, and let's set a timer. We'll start with 10 minutes and then we'll see how much dye is left in the pot. I'm going to make the water hot again. So again, things aren't going to be perfect. Okay, right now we have about 2 grams of dye in 100 milliliters. Sometimes when I'm making a dye stock, if I want to make sure that I don't use way too much dye as I'm or way too much water as I'm working on it, I will only bring over hot water that is the volume I need, if that makes sense, which I did not do today. But I'm working on turning this into approximately a 1% stock solution. I'm not going to measure like super carefully, but we know that I want way less than 1 gram of dye. And the reason why I know that is because this red is a lot deeper than the red that I want. Okay, and so we have a little bit over, again, it's not a perfect dye stock, but now we have a little over 200 milliliters of water. And so we have closer to a 1% stock solution. And so it's not going to be like perfectly replicable if we need to mix more dye, but we have more information. So that way we can know approximately how much we want. And that's handy when you are dyeing by feel, which is what we are doing here today. Now, I know I set a timer, but I'm still seeing reds in here. Now, this color red will and can absorb completely. Love that one's off, but it's still a little warm. So that is just something that I will need to keep in mind, and we might bring over a yarn mop to help reduce colors. But the nice thing is when we go and we play around with our radioactive next, which is my plan, and my plan is to do that in this pot. As long as there's not a lot of red, we should be fine. But if there's a little bit of radioactive left when we go to add red, that's not going to be a problem, because we had, you know, I would say 2 parts red to 5 parts, 5 parts red to 2 parts radioactive. And we barely feel that radioactive in here. And so that just means that our red is that much more pigmented. Now on camera, this looks a little bit orange to me. On screen, in person, it's very pink. Like, I'm not feeling the yellows in there at all. Is it that radioactive is not as strong enough of a green? I think that it is because it is like a yellow. And if you think about some of the color mixing, I may as well sit down because I have a timer on. Okay, so it is because, oh man, like that's pretty, that little like almost golden that you see on the camera over there looks so good, but in person it's very pink. That's just what the camera's picking up. So radioactive is a pigmented color. There's a lot of pigment in there, but relatively speaking, it's not pigmented enough to overwhelm the red or to really shift that color very much at all. And it's likely a case because just like yellows, even a very, very pigmented yellow, just the color of the red dominates with most yellows and yellowish colors. And so, yeah, I mean, it's just that it's not strong. So the 2 colors that I was using are Fire Engine Red and Radioactive from Dharma. And the first time, we've got a beautiful red to pink dip dye colorway. And so we're going to shift strategies to try to get something that feels broken, but isn't broken. And so one of the things with making your own mix of colors to break it with dip dyeing is that you need one of those colors to strike a lot faster than the other in order for breaking to happen. And there was a chance, and I was like, ooh, I want to see if I can like intuit this, and I couldn't. But it's all about playing, right? And it's okay, actually, when contributing to the dialogue. It doesn't have to be perfect. We've got an apple-y colorway over here, but it's just not necessarily like, ooh, exactly the photo.
And you could go into this and play around more with the greens of the backdrop. I am choosing to focus more on the like apple skin personally, but you absolutely could play around with the green colors as well. And Jacqueline, it's not your fault you didn't realize there was a live because I did not set this up until this morning. I actually had everything ready to go to announce last night, but yesterday morning, my upper back hurt so badly that I was like, I don't know if I can do anything today. And so I was nervous that it was going to hurt me more this morning than it hurt yesterday, which it doesn't. So yesterday I used like a homemade, I used dry beans and I sewed them into this pouch, which then I microwave. And I put that on my back, which it's hard to get something to keep in your upper back. The thing that hurt was like the twisting motion. So it was like that part of like my upper back near like shoulders. And I don't know what did it because even lifting a 5-gallon bucket doesn't tweak those muscles. So I'm like, I don't know what did it, but the pain like reduced and it's not where it was yesterday, and it's definitely not worse. So then I was like, okay, I'll go. But yeah, I was like, I had like a mild panic because I'm like, okay, like the pain wasn't bad enough to go to the doctor or anything, but it was enough that made me want to just go lay down and not want to do anything. And I was like, okay, I don't want to get another repetitive stress injury. So I wanted to try to figure out what it was I did. I mean, it could have been me squatting with a camera taking pictures at a baseball game of Ryder. And then maybe at some point I will share some of those photos because, oh my gosh, they're golden. They are so funny. And I don't know, I just really enjoy it. And actually, this is probably good practice for someday, like if we ever do like any kind of like wild animal photography kind of vacation, which we might get to do. Oh my gosh, there will be so many die-along photos. Yeah, and so I was like, oh no, like this isn't good. I mean, of course, I'm sitting on the floor right now, and I'm not in any pain. If I was in any pain, I would shift the way I was sitting, but it made me stressed about like all the yarn I have to dye for Hanukkah and everything, and I was just like, I need like no health things to get in the way. So if you don't remember the repetitive stress injury that I got, oh my gosh, that was from, there's one Hanukkah where I made 125 different colors. I did 5 different 5x5 grids of colors. And I injured my wrist because I did them all one day after another. And filling a like 2-liter jar with water and then pouring that. And so pouring it over and over and over. After like the 3rd day, like my wrist hurt a little bit. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's fine. But I kind of ignored it and kept going. And so then I ended up with an injury that hurt for a long time. And so that was not smart. And so I'm like, okay. And it made me more cognizant of paying attention to when my body complains. And since I have a fairly physical job dyeing yarn, yeah, I'm like, okay, I need to just be careful. So I'm nearing 40. Yes, I'm nearing 40. It's like, hey, but I'm not 40 yet. I have a little bit more time. Oh gosh, but Lucas is going to be 10. Lucas is going to be 10, and I'm in shock. I'm amazed that the radioactive did almost nothing. Like, I didn't expect a ton. So, like, there's a little bit of color in here that feels right. The pink is too pink. Okay, you know what? We're seeing a... Oh, God. Everyone's okay. The hot water did not hit me.
I don't think it even got my computer, but I don't know why I dropped that either. I mean, it's pretty. It's just very, very, very pink. You know what? I do feel some yellows like more towards the middle, but the end, the radioactive sort of struck more before everything else. So I'm gonna put this in a steamer basket and I'm gonna let it steam for 30 minutes. Gotta make sure there's water in the steamer basket. Yes. But I'm gonna add some water to it. Somehow I ended up with no water on my laptop. That is amazing. This is why you wear safety glasses, friends. Oh my gosh. And there might be pink in the bottom of the steamer basket because I'm pouring water over the yarn. Okay. Oh my goodness. No, I had to like stop for a second and I was like, did some of the splash, like, it's funny, like I can't believe that that just didn't get me. I'm gonna need to get more yarn potentially. Okay, so I want a lot less red, and we'll see if we can soak whatever is left up. Which honestly, if there is some pink in when we add the radioactive, I don't think that would be the end of the world. But you can see here that it looks like there's not a lot of color in the water, but we still have a very reasonable amount of pink left. So that little bit isn't nothing, but you can see that this fresh skein has absorbed most of it, and we're really not feeling those yellows. So at this proportion of everything, those yellows are soaking up first. And almost, I mean, my gut says to wait, but I'm almost thinking no. I'm gonna wait just like 1 minute. And then we'll pull out this yarn mop. Oh, that's funny. Yay! Congratulations on finishing a work in progress. You had back surgery at 32. No, I feel like it's so funny that that's looking so orange when it's very pink in person. No, I feel like your mid-30s is when like you start to experience more aches and pains. But yeah, I mean this little, it's funny, I made this warming pouch. I guess I made it when Ryder was born, but I don't think that's when I hurt my hip. Maybe it was, that like it wasn't the C-section that like hurt, it was my hip that really, really hurt. But I did something weird with Lucas too, with my hip. The first skin is like a pink lady apple as opposed to a Honeycrisp. There weren't any pink ladies. The only 3 that we picked were Gala, Honeycrisp, and Golden Crisp or something was the other one that we picked. We don't, yeah, because it's funny. There's always a debate of like, Keith and Ryder claim they like Gala, but no, Honeycrisp is the best. It's amazing for pies. It's great for everything. But yeah, it's definitely not Red Delicious. I forget what else was available. There were like, I don't think we picked any Macintosh. I do like Macintosh as well. But it's also possible I just stopped and took a random picture. This live stream has inspired you to bake an apple crisp. Nice. So for Rosh Hashanah, I always make an apple and honey pie.
And I forget, I guess this must have happened 1 year after apple picking. I was like, oh, can I make a pie with honey instead of sugar? And so it's a recipe that uses honey and maple syrup. And so I'm like, oh, that's within the spirit of like, of Rosh Hashanah, right? I mean, sugar would have been fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. But I was like, ooh, it's an apple and honey pie. It is so good. It uses like lemon and lemon zest. And I actually use half of the honey and maple syrup it calls for because I found that if you use too much of it, it's too liquidy. And so that makes the pie a little bit like tart because of the lemon, like the juice of one lemon and the zest. And so that's nice. It's like not too sweet. Oh, nice. Iggy, I wonder if your next door neighbor lets you pick any. Because that would be pretty cool. But, oh, you know what I need to check? Let's see. Studio. How we doing? Data's still processing. Oh man, I don't know. I don't know if we're close. We are so close. To unlocking another emoji. Okay, nope, it's still the same. If we get 2 more members, and members start at just 99 cents a month, if we get 2 more YouTube members, then I can add another emote. And so the ChemKnits emote we have right now, there's like a celebration, there's a yarn heart, yarn mop, indie barking, because he interrupts the stream. Like the one I call Rebecca, or ChemKnits hug, I'm hugging a heart, me laughing, me face palming, tongs with a circle through it, a do not touch, and then indie love, because sometimes he shows up, he's not going to show up today, he's upstairs, because sometimes he shows up and isn't barking and gets some love. And so I think, and feel free to brainstorm ideas if there's an emote that you want, but I think that, and you get like a little badge by your name. So you can see Beth and Judy have the like rainbow die drop right now, and so there's other colors. And then I think no one has, because this hasn't existed for 2 years, and so I don't know if you can see a preview of what they are, but I made the little badge icons myself. That was because there's like a certain number of pixels, and so I was like playing around with what I could do. I really like the one that I did for I think it's the 2-year mark. But yay! Yay, Robin and Beth! Beth's been a member for 16 months, Robin for 14 months. I think you get, like, sometimes with that, I don't know if you can put in like a comment or not. Gretchen for 16 months. So yeah, I think 16 months is how long this has existed. No, there are many ways you can support the content here, but it's just fun. I don't know. I probably like have spent more making, like, customizing or commissioning the emotes, but yeah, I'm thinking of trying to do, and so maybe I would temporarily replace. Oh my gosh. But I think that I would do maybe something Hanukkah. But it is fun. Yeah. I forget if that's what I've... Huh, I wonder if they reduced the price. But yeah, the artist, it was fun, and yeah. Oh, you can't add a comment with it? That's too bad. But hey, I can celebrate, you guys. Woo! Oh man. Okay, I gotta go turn the steamer basket down, and we can try dyeing some more yarn. Steamer basket does not need to be that hot. And so often with this type of
of yarn mop, and they're not always dip dyed. This one I just happened to because the yarn was dry. I love that I came up onto the steps. You guys, okay, so I have had a bad batch of zip ties, I think, and I can't figure out what it is because this is the third one that is broken at the bottom on me, and I don't know why. I'm going to set you down. We're going to set you aside. Ooh, you know what? The lightest edge does feel like it has a little bit of yellow in it. I don't know if that's the bare yarn or what. But these breaks, it's just like a clean break at the bottom of it. And I wonder, because you know what? Like, now looking at this, I'm sort of twisted. Because see, otherwise if I bend it, it doesn't snap, but there's a point near that bottom that it bends and cracks. That is weird and unusual from what I'm used to. Because I've been using a lot more new zip ties, but maybe I'm like going and bending this one. Yeah, there's a point where like it's bending and breaking, but not everywhere. But like when I pick it up, that's not bending. Weird. Weird. Because until like this week, this is not something that had ever happened to me. Oh man. Well, I'm starting to bring some new ones in. So, because I've had them break and snap, but like snap quickly sometimes when trying to use them for resist, where I'm actually putting a lot of pressure on. But this is weird. Yeah, so it's possible that these ones, because I think that this one that I used was used for like it's dark. It's been used for a lot of things, and a lot of them I can tell from like how curved the tops are that they've been used for resist at some point. So I don't know. I don't know. But what we're gonna do now is we're gonna see how much chartreuse I have. Okay, we have about 50 milliliters. I'm gonna put that in, and I'm gonna rinse out the bottle as well as this little cup, because why not? You know, it's like stuff happens, right? Okay, that's the rest of the green. Oh man. I tried to use the wired silicone ties. Yeah, it's funny because like the zip ties, the like source of them changes all the time, and I had an issue with them being brittle in the winter. And so what I don't know is if all this is the newer brand or the older brand of ties. Because see, it makes sense if I take it and I bend it all the way like that for it to break. But But I noticed that it broke, but it didn't snap all the way. And so even bending it completely this direction doesn't cause that crack on most of them. So I don't know. I mean, it seems like I get more to snap in the winter, and I was like, oh, where I'm keeping them, it gets really cold, and I think the cold and hot changes could make it brittle. Like plastics do, oh, this is nylon. Stuff does degrade over time. Like that's a thing. But anyway. All right, we're gonna do 200 grams. And if it's not enough color, we can mix more and do more. So this is the fun thing about going by feel, is that if I want more yellow or something, we can always add more or dip dye these same skeins a second time into more radioactive. So that is an option. But I'm going, you know what I should have written down? I should write this down. Started writing down what we've done. And so we're still starting dry. And we'll see what this does. Nope, this is still radioactive. And so you can see, so this is 50 mils of the radioactive on 200 grams. Before, I used 40 milliliters on 100 grams, and it barely made an impact. And almost all of it, look at how fast this color is going. I need to get these ends in. Oh, that went fast. So there we have it. Oh, that went super fast with this much acid. So we've got some yellow at the tip. There's almost nothing left in there. All right, we're gonna let this sit for, let's do 10 minutes because we can. Now, I can reset the dye bath if I wanted to, but that would take a very long time. The part of that would take a long time would be, it would take a long time to wait for a new one to heat up again. And so that's why I don't want to do that. And so I think I did 8 tablespoons of white vinegar in 24 cups water. And so the radioactive went fast, which is a combination of there being not that much dye. Oh good, we're getting some of that yellowish green on the tip, which is kind of the perfect color. There's a little bit of white, but I can always like shift the yarn a little bit. It doesn't have to be the deepest green going in again. Yeah, and so there is a color. There's sour apple. Is that the green? Which is a lovely, lovely, lovely green. However, no, click. The sour apple green is a stunning green, but it is more bright, a little bit less dirty than radioactive. Radioactive is a neon green, but radioactive is a really great name for it. It feels like acid. Whereas Jacquard's chartreuse is like neon green that feels like
more like a green highlighter. It is like bright. It doesn't feel as acid. And so, but that's something, yeah, because I must have a side-by-side of them. Oh, I don't have that open. Okay. Documents, color swatches. Where are all of my greens? Okay. You can see in the, I can't use my thing, but in the, on the left, third row, or I guess fourth row down in the middle is Jacquard Chartreuse, and above that is Jacquard Kelly Green. And on either side of Jacquard Chartreuse, you have Dharma Chartreuse and Dharma Radioactive. And so you can see that the Radioactive is a lot more yellow-green and breaks a lot more. So it must be whatever blue pigment that they used is something that both strikes faster. It's possible that for Radioactive they didn't use a blue pigment. Maybe they used a green pigment in there with yellow, and that gave it that color versus the more, but like you're gonna see, so underneath Dharma Radioactive is Sour Apple, which is a lot closer to the hue of Chartreuse, but it is like, it's less neon. And so, there's that. Oh, no. That's not what I want to delete. This is what I want to delete. Yes, I can remove that. And so, that's why I made the decision to go for this color, because the yellow of an apple is way, like, it's more yellow than green, but it's more green than yellow. You missed a zip tie break and a yarn kerplunk. It's amazing how dark lichen is compared to chartreuse. Yeah, so on those swatches that I had on the screen, which those were from Die Pot PS 58. If you want to go watch that video. The relative pigmentation of those swatches can vary based on how much of the dye I added. But lichen, yeah, so like lichen could have been a good color as well, but it does get pretty dark. And you dyed a sweater in lichen and it's very light green, yeah. And I have recently in some experiments, I've been done some, never mind. It's like I have information I want to share, but I cannot. I will not. But what I will say is that you can go pre-order the ChemKnits Hanukkah sampler. Oh my gosh. Oh, that's an idea. But I don't think I would do that. I was like, I just had like a tiny little idea. What was I going to say about Hanukkah? I don't know. I'm excited. No spoilers. Now, of course, you don't need to buy a sampler to enjoy the videos. The videos are available for everyone. And so that's great. Now, it's funny. So I'm a little bit suspicious because Etsy has done some things that are nice for sellers recently. Over the weekend, last weekend, they had a sale that Etsy covered, which gave like people $5 off of a $25 order, and Etsy covered that. So people got a discount on Etsy shops, and like that came from Etsy instead of the sellers. And I was like, whoa, that's something nice. Because Etsy always encourages shopkeepers to do sales for certain holidays and stuff, and then they like send emails out, but it's like hard to do because things aren't available on every shop. And so I think that Etsy then might get complaints because I don't know, they're encouraging shops. They've now made it so that way, like when I linked just in chat the Hanukkah sampler, I can link to a listing starting with chemknitscreations.etsy.com, which brings my branding to the forefront. But the other thing they've done for sellers is that if I drive the traffic to a sale in just my shop, not anywhere on Etsy, but if I drive the traffic to a sale in my shop, then I get, like, they reduce the amount of fees that they charge me. And I'm like, well, so that's something that they're doing, that is encouraging sellers to advertise Etsy, right? And so that is, maybe they're definitely trying to do that, but I'm like, are they going to increase fees now? Because they're doing this, and I'm like, what shoe is going to drop? Are they going to require free shipping with a certain amount of purchase, or what? Maybe the next emoji should be a shh for no spoilers. Oh my gosh, that would be funny. Because what's Simply Nailogical, well, she streams on Simply Not Logical, but they have a NDA emoji for their members, where it's like, okay, like you're signing, I'm going to say something, but you're like sign those NDAs. You can't just share what I'm, which obviously it's a joke. But that's because there are people that will like try to get like hints about the next collection and stuff, and so that's cute, and so that's really, really funny. But yeah, no, I need to figure out what image I would want for, because there aren't really good Hanukkah emotes that just exist. Like there's this. There's a menorah, but that is the extent of like the Hanukkah emotes. Whereas I bet if I searched for Christmas, oh, there's only a tree. Fine. Okay, that's fine. There was only one that showed up on YouTube, just a Christmas tree. But yeah, I mean, like, you know, there's not a lot of things that exist anyway, and so yeah, I'm just trying to think like, ooh, what would be something fun? I have an idea. I don't know if it would work on an emote, but I was like, oh, my Hanukkah pajamas. But I think it would be so small, it would like not be, yeah. Oh, definitely a dreidel. No, like for sure, my plan would be to have something dreidel related. But the question is, if I tried to like also make it ChemKnitsy, and have it still be visible, or just have like a, yeah, like, or just some kind of dreidel. So, because I'm like, oh, too bad, yeah. Cause believe me, I've got ideas, but it's like, ooh, but what? But I'm impressed with like the details that you can get on things that are so small. Okay. It's amazing how I can tune out the beeping. And so just like I said, and I'm going to have glasses on in case we have a splashback, but just like I said before, just like if I thought that we needed more of the radioactive, we could add that on. And the top of this is quite yellow. But with the red, we can start low and add more and more and more. And I am inclined to shift this so a little bit more of the green is near the top, but we'll do that in a moment. I'm going to set this aside so it can cool a little bit. And let's think about how much of the red we want. So 1 gram, oh, right, how much more time does that need? Oh, let's give it like 15 minutes. That's probably more time than it needs. So 1 gram of dye gave a color that was way too dark. And I think I want something less dark than that.
So if I do approximately 20 milliliters of our approximately 1% stock solution, where is, I can't see. There we go. You know what? I'm going to go up to 30. So this time we're going to have approximately 0.3 grams of dye, but for 200 grams of yarn. And this could still feel like too much, and that's okay. But I knew that I needed to cut the amount of dye by more than 50% because of just the beautiful bright red that we had before, which is gorgeous, just not quite what I wanted. And so my goal is to try and have something that feels appley but doesn't feel too Christmas, which might be a challenge. Okay, here's our radioactive yarn, which is funny. And so you can see the deepest green I want to go in first, but you know what? The top is like a little bit yellow and a hint of green. I'm actually gonna let that stand. So we will legitimately have the deepest green go in first. If we get some brown, that is okay. And if we don't get enough red, that is also okay. If we get very little red on here, then all that means is that we can do this again with some more red. And so what we're gonna end up with is like a faux broken colorway is our goal. And so we might end up with pinks that go all the way up to the top, or I might decide, you know what, I'm done. We're gonna set this colorway aside and bring over the yarn mop. Dreidel made of yarn. Yes, it would be hard to see that on an emote though. But I can't wait for you guys to see what the art I commissioned. Ooh, because see, that's nice and orange. Ooh. This is looking pretty. I'm going a little bit fast. But this is going really well. Oh my gosh. Oh man. I'm like tempted to leave some out, but I'm even more, no, that's pretty good actually. I was like tempted to go even further in, but I don't think I will. I think I'm gonna leave like a tiny bit out, but I'm trying to have that be very, very seamless. See, if I put all the yarn in right now, we would get pinks all the way up. But it's not what I wanted. And we've got this like orangish, almost, maybe, is that a little too orange? Maybe, but I also really like it. Like, I like what it's doing. Okay, chat. I mean, I'm going back and forth because this feels very appley. Part of me wants to get it a little bit more red at the very, very base of it. But I'm also afraid if I do that, that it would then bring too much everything else. So I'm going to bring the yarn mop in. And we have about 10 minutes on the timer. That's probably good to soak up those pinks. I'm tempted to leave that as it is. This does not feel Christmas to me. It feels like a hint of poison apple, but there's like green notes showing through there that I really, really like. This isn't the type of colorway that I would probably choose to like knit with myself, but it's feeling a bit like the apple to me, and I'm curious. I can like even see apples across the room because it's just a hair too orange. So what would I do about this if I wanted to achieve a green like this on our yarn? And I know it's a little bit blocked. If I wanted to achieve a green like this, but did not want to have as much of the green down here, one thing I could do is bring a yarn mop in, do an initial dunk of the yarn mop to get some of those blue pigments to just strike and out of there, right? And then kind of keep going. But I do like it. It's different. I don't know how much apple it screams. I will try to have an apple with the dry yarn for the recap. Because it's funny, the apples aren't orange, but there are elements of them where you feel the red and green coming through. This is looking a little bit, let me bring over something orange. Okay, these are some of my jacquard things. So here is like a neon orange next to the yarn. And it feels, it feels a little bit like orangey brown. You can feel what's happening right here with the pinks and the green and that orange right here. That reminds me of an apple. It's just the bottom's a little orange. But you know what? I could call it apple orchard and that fits. Oh man. Let me, in 10 minutes I keep talking as I leave the room. In 10 minutes I can bring the very red yarn over. Yeah, because I would not change anything about what's happening from like here up. It's just the question of, do I want the bottom to be a little bit more red? Because too much more red also isn't very true to the apple either. It is a little bit too orange at the bottom, but you do feel, oh, on camera it's extremely orange. It is less orange than that in person. Everything on camera is a little more yellow. Yeah, but it is more red than in person. Yeah. So the radioactive, though, is not always going to lean orange because the very first colorway that we did is not orange at all, and it overpowered the radioactive. So it just depends on if I can do it with it still feeling smooth and add it to just the end. Yeah. Let me see. My phone. Where are you, phone? Okay. And get an accurate picture. All right. Just need to wait for the picture to get onto my computer. which sometimes takes a little while. I am inclined to dip this in a little bit more red, and the way we could do that is like a little bit at a time, so that way it doesn't immediately have like a harsh line. What if I folded the yarn in half again and dipped radioactive from the middle? Yeah, there's no question it's fall. I think I will try to increase the amount of red up until, cause see in here, you get some of those like greens showing through, and that's so beautiful. Trying to be patient and waiting for the timer to go off. Okay, let's think. Oh, I still have the yarn mop in there. Fine mop. Dip. Yeah, so I'm gonna add some more red, but let me see if I can get the actual color of this. Just give me a moment. Not yet. Come on, photos. Update. Back up. Yes, do this now. There we go. No, upload. Upload. Come on. Come on. Yeah, one item left. Back it up already. Oh man. Okay, come on. Come on. Sorry about that. We're just being patient. And oh man, I definitely took a picture of me and Lucas the other day. Why am I not seeing that? I hate it when my camera lets me think I took a picture of it and then didn't. Okay. Come on, are we there yet? No. Okay. This is annoying. Yeah, it's not that big. Upload. Okay, now it says it's uploading. The timer will go off and this will have taken like 10 minutes because that's what's happening. The bottom of the U in the green and one end in the red. I see. What would happen if you folded the yarn in half again and dipped radioactive from the middle? Then the bottom would have white or paler greens for the red to be stronger. I see what you're saying. Yeah, I mean that could happen. I want the other reason why I'm doing this is I wanted the red to be a little bit less bright. And so I wanted that green there, but it's just I have too much. I wanted the green in there to make it a little dirtier. That's all. Fudge. This is taking forever. I probably could have manually done it and it would have been faster. I might even just have to email it to myself. Why won't this do it? I'm now emailing myself. Yep. Oh man. Okay, and I'll show you the red that we have. the red that is far too pigmented. This is the first color we did, and I'll rotate it so it's the same. We dip dyed, this had 0.4 grams of radioactive and 1 gram of red. And so this time we had about, per 100 gram skein, we had about 0.25 grams radioactive and 0.15 grams red. So we had a lot less, we had more radioactive to red here, whereas we had like twice as much red to radioactive over here. And you see almost no orange at all. But it did take the red a little bit, it made it a more yellow leaning red, having that radioactive in there. So there's that. Okay, this is the same yarn mop. We have used her twice. We want it to be on hand because we will be using it again. And I'm going to set it just in this pan because that's what I have. Okay. Now I'm going to want to be very careful. Any chance of speckling green? For me, not today. I did consider it. I did consider playing with reds and then speckling green over it, but I'm not going to do that today just because I was in the respirator mask like all day yesterday and I don't feel like wearing that today. And because I got this idea in my head and I'm determined to try to make the dip dye thing work a little bit. But yeah, I mean, you guys, and again, for the dye along, like, you can submit whatever you want is good. Like, you're welcome to try to, like, replicate what I do, but you also can try to do your own thing. Okay. And I'm really glad I have the step stool. Now, there's a chance the zip tie dies. Oh, there we go. That is immediately redder. But I'm going to be very, very careful. It is more orange in the middle, but you still feel that green. Okay. I'm going to remove it. I do have a picture of what it looked like before. I'm going to move our yarn mop in. It's definitely more red now. Where is my phone? It's still a very warm red. It's leaning a little bit yellow, but that doesn't, like, I feel the soft red in there more. I'll get a photo because everything is looking way more yellow on camera. Of course, it's here now after I emailed it. Nice. Yeah. Let me share. Okay, this is what it looked like before I re-dip dyed it. And so you can see that it's definitely orange-ish, but it's not that orange. Let's see if I can get the other one to actually upload quickly. Drafts. Oh, come on. There's no. No. I don't need to open up every single. Come on. There we go. Okay. And now you can get what it looks like now. Okay, so you can see the difference. The greens are the same, the middle is the same, but the bottom is distinctively more red. And the apple is hiding. Well, I'm now hiding. I'll move myself in just a sec. And then, okay, so plus 20 mil red, then 20. Because it's still a little bit orange. But here, let me hide my face a minute. But you can see here on screen the difference between what it's looking like on the camera versus the image that I'm sharing that I just took from my phone. And so the image, the webcam is showing up very, very yellow, and it is a little bit more red in person. So, oh no. Oh. Wait, there I am. Yeah, so that's just all right? Like, the difference is there. And so that's why what I was saying was like, okay, it is a little bit orange, and it's still a little bit orange, but there are apples that the red is like, you know, as bright red as that first attempt. But if we really look at this, like, see that yellow, that green, there's like, it's almost a little bit orange in there. We've got those yellows. And so maybe that radioactive, it's still a little bit too green, but we've got those like orange notes that are in there. At least that's what I'm telling myself. The middle part is great with the way that the colors were like a little bit uneven, is fantastic. So yeah, this is fun. And I'm like, okay, I feel like I've nailed it. But actually what I need to do now is go steam set this. But I wanted to convince myself I was satisfied with the color. And so this is something that you can do. You can leave the yarn in the pot to finish setting the color, or you can do like I'm doing here today, is remove the yarn from the pot, and then finish heat setting it somewhere else. So that way we can leave like our mop here, and I'll leave the mop in here for those 30 minutes. And this is just going to be a pretty pink yarn now. But I would say that, you know, it took a little bit of practice, but we nailed it. And so this, oh gosh, we have so much. You know what? I have a bunch of red left. Okay, chat. I've got, let's go here. All right, get back in focus. So I have approximately 1.6 grams of red left. What should I do with it? I want to do something fast because I have like 2 kilograms of yarn to wash today. Maybe not including all the yarn that I dye right here. And I still have to film the dye pot PS for this week. Oh man. There is an apple called Pink Lady. Some apples do feel pinkish on the skin though. Let me see. Not just the flesh. But it also depends on your what was I going to say? It depends on something. Dip dye it. Just dip dye the yarn mop. Oh, I could dip dye into just the red. I'm worried about that being too much red. I mean, I could kettle dye. Because like I can always go steam set this mop in the end. Yeah, so like, yeah, I'm debating if I should just like do a red tonal, but I can dip dye into it. It would probably be like a deeper red to a lighter red. Oh, add it to the pot with the yarn mop. Well, I have one more skein over there, so I think I'll let this yarn mop be its pink thing. Although, okay, hilariously, sometimes this is when, this is how I make these decisions sometimes. I go to my shop, look for pink, we're looking at DK and we're going to see what I've got. Because sometimes there ends up being a lot of pink. Oh, I don't see any pink tonals. Let's look for red. Am I still in DK? All right, I'm out of a lot of the red and pink, so therefore, oh, yarn mop. No, where am I? Here. Yeah, okay, we can dip dye. I'll do a new dip dye with it, and we'll use that up. I'll give this like another minute, and then we'll go ahead and do that. This is my Wordle chat. I have not done Wordle today. And I am not a fan of connections. But yeah, so I think like, you know, because, so one reason why I decided that I'm going to dip dye, it's more dye than I had for the very first one that is so red, but I'm curious if we can feel like a hue difference. And so that's why I think that that's what I'll do with that. And so we'll use that up. Nope. Yes. Okay. Because I was like, because yeah, I'm curious how, and granted it's going to be more red, like 1.6 times as much red as I had here, but I'm curious how the deepest end will feel compared to that. All right, so this mop still needs, and there's a little bit of pink in here, that's fine. This mop is still going to need something. Heat. More heat. It'll get that. Okay, let's get our dye in. Now the other thing is that we are reducing the pH each time we add more water, but we're also losing water because the volume is going down. So I don't know. I could be testing it, but that would be too scientific for me right now. Things you never thought you'd hear me say. Like, you never thought you'd hear me say something is too science. All right, let's do this. And so you'll see we've got just 100 grams of yarn here, but see how like instantly this is so red? Oh yeah, there's no question the radioactive made an impact. Like, this is Crayola red. Like, it is a deep, and like even without all the color, it is a red lipstick. And so a little bit of yellow just made it still red, but quite different. Now, this is looking red from like head to toe right now. We may actually end up needing the yarn mop in the pot. Hopefully this won't be a bleeder. So depth of shade is the number of grams of dye per 100 grams of yarn. But since I'm dip dyeing this, we have a like more probably than a 2% depth of shade down at that end and less than a 1% depth of shade up at this pinkish edge that we've got in here right now. So that is something that could be quite interesting. Now, I am going to add all of this yarn in, and I'm going to leave it in there for 30 minutes. Which time's on the timer? 22. So the other end might end up being quite red, but we should still see a difference. But compared to this red here, which feels a lot more like brick, it feels more natural, more earthy compared to the unnatural bright red that we have there. And so I'm very excited that you guys asked for that, so I have that to show, because then I can show and hopefully remember that the radioactive on the first one did impact the red. It just still felt very, very red, and it was hard to feel it in there. But it's funny because I've used Cherry Bomb as a red for years, and I think that also gets like blobby things in it. But Cherry Bomb isn't a primary. There's other pigments in there. So, I don't know. I'm excited. I'm excited. Oh dear. As I sit. Now where do I want to go? Up here. That is, yes, very much more of a Christmas red, and so that's why I thought about bringing that radioactive in, because the red here, it is a red apple, right? But the red that I got from just that fire engine red was a cartoon version of an apple. And actually, let me find like a cartoony apple right now. I'll just search for apple clip art. Nope. Yeah, I would say it's like the difference between this apple clip art and then the real apple, which when you look at the two together, the like red of an apple that you would draw in a picture or something is wrong for the actual apple, right? That primary Crayola red color is too vibrant, right? So let's see. Oh, okay. Sometimes it's fun to just see what happens, such as what happens when you launch cesium into water with a cannon from a long difference. Judy said, I would like to test to see if the acid concentration diminishes after all of the dyeing. Does any of it go into the yarn? Some of it probably goes into the yarn. I'm not sure, honestly, if it's the dye getting protonated or if it's the yarn getting protonated by having the acidic pH. So then things can interact. I think it's probably, I mean, yeah. So I don't know very much there, but my sense is that the bigger difference that can happen as I dye over time is that
I think adding, like, for a pH of like 5, you've got like millions. There's a lot of molecules there. So I think that like the amount of dye that you're adding, that's not enough. Like, I think that potentially by adding bare yarn and then removing it, that could change the pH a bit. But I don't think it does very much. I think the bigger change to the pH is when the water level in the pot gets low and you add water to it. Of course, I think that the boiling point of acetic acid is less than the boiling point of water. So I don't think the steam coming off has a lot of acetic acid in it or anything. So it's like losing water volume to steam also, you know, I don't know. It's something that I could look at, but I realized at one point that like my pH paper is like off, probably because it's so old, and I probably should just order some more. I did get a like electronic pH meter, but when I was looking at the directions, it wants you to calibrate it every time before you use it, which means I need to have like the solutions for calibration, and I was like, ugh, I don't want to have to do all that. I was like, that's too much effort to have to deal with the calibration. So, yeah. Sodium. So the difference. There's talking about adding sodium to water. Yes, if you add sodium to water, you will get a big boom. But that's the sodium metal. Whereas the sodium that is in table salt is a sodium ion. So that is not the pure metal and will not react in the same kind of way. Now, there are reasons why people should be careful with the amount of sodium or the amount of salt in your food, because it can just like affect the way the balance of your body. Having too much sodium in what you're eating can adjust like things for water retention and the way your kidneys are working, and there can be issues that way for having too much salt in your diet, but it's not the same as like mixing sodium with water and going boom. Yeah. Science chat, woohoo! Is it Mr. Rogers' red cardigan red? Ooh. I need to look up a picture of Mr. Rogers now. Although now it looked, I accidentally typed in Mr. Rogers clip art, because, let's see. Images. I think his mom made all of his sweaters. But see, like with the image, it's hard to say. I mean, honestly, you know what I can do? Documents, color swatches. Where are all my reds? Wait, no, I have like a... Where is the image? Oh, phew. It was just down lower. Nope, that's not what I wanted to move. Okay. I would say, yeah, it's looking like cayenne red to me. Was my gut from my computer screen. So this one right here with the Dharma acid dyes. But see, this picture looks way more orange than this picture. This picture looks a little bit more poinsettia. But these are all at a 1% depth of shade. Maybe Scarlet from Jacquard seems to be pretty good. Bob Ross style on, follow the directions. Oh, that's an interesting idea, to like listen to like the mixture of colors and to play with that. Wait, Mary, what would be a good Etsy label? I missed it. I see, like to name it that. See, you have to be very, that's a great question. You have to be very, very careful. No, this camera. So when you're naming things for Etsy and things that involve someone else's name and things like that, you need to be very, very careful because, like, I don't have the rights to use Rogers as a name, and so I don't know if there is like a trademark on that, but because like PBS is also different, but like the Rogers family might care. I don't know. It's like I have Pokemon yarn that I dyed, but I don't have Pokemon in the title of title of it because I don't have an official license from Pokemon. It's fan art. It's inspired by Pokemon, which I believe is all okay. It's just if I were trying to market it based on that, then the Pokemon company in theory could come after me and have me take it down because I would be profiting then off of people searching for Pokemon stuff. Now, there are lots of people who make things based on intellectual property and do that and sell that and don't get takedowns. And so it depends on the company. But Disney is very big on protecting their copyright. The Olympic Committee is massive on that. Like there used to be the Rav Olympics, and the Olympic Committee made them take it down. It's because they charge companies a lot of money to get the license to have the Olympic rings on anything. And so they go after neighborhoods that have little like Olympic stuff. And so like they're, and it's easier to just not deal with that. So therefore I am extremely careful. Yes, neighborhood friendly sweater is a way to describe that. And so yeah, you just have to be careful with things that are trademarked. And so I would happily do like, a Marvel like die along at some point maybe, and to do colorways inspired by characters. But when you name things, you have to be careful with how you name them because it's like you might want to market something because it's like, oh, well, this is what it's inspired by, and people might shop for it because of that. But yeah, you have to be careful. The mouse is extremely litigious, yes. And it's because like companies go to them and negotiate, and like the mouse they give out a lot of licenses to companies. They will sell licenses, but the IP, the way that like any Disney characters will be used has to be approved by Disney. They won't just give someone like the ability to go off and do it. Warner Brothers can also be fairly litigious as well, which it's not fair to say that they're litigious in this sense. They are protective of their trademarks and of their IP, which you have to do, like, they make a lot of money on merch and things like that. And so in order to keep that trademark, you have to show that you defend it, I believe. So, yeah. Spider-Person superhero dialogue. I mean, I think that it is okay to do a dialogue. And I have lots of Disney stuff on my website, technically. Let's see. That's not where. Okay. And we'll show you guys. Maybe I'm going to hide that. And, oh, whoops. Did I do it? Yeah. Okay, so for my own trip to Disney, I made, and like some were designs that I found online, some I saw myself. This is how I made like templates of the Mickey ears, and this is how I did it. I made them with felt and with puffy paint. Okay, there's a million pictures. Oh, I love this Olaf one. I still have all of these. And then, okay, that was a tutorial I found and followed. Where, see, isn't that so cute? I'm so proud of myself. With those, and then I show exactly how I made it with a million pictures. But I made like my own Snow G's ears. But see, I'm not selling these, right? I made them. The people at the parks loved them. Oh, bummer. Because I have a tag for this. Oh my gosh, that's all in post. Dear Lord. Disney World. Oh, I love this. I was so proud of this. I used like sequins and glue to make all these shapes, and then I stacked them all on top of each other. Oh my gosh. That I was very proud of. Oh, okay, I'm wearing the Snow G ears right here. Do I have a better picture of it? No. But you can see how I did the like little feet down there and the little tooth. And the kids had shirts that went with that. Oh my gosh, that was so fun. I don't think I even shared all of the, I don't think I ever even finished all the posts. Things that, oh, and these ones I forgot to take out. This was a tutorial I followed. Keith asked for that. Oh man. Okay, we already saw that one. Okay, but my point is I have tons of stuff. They've never come after my blog. Yeah, I guess I never finished. So I made Lady and the Tramp. Oh man, I made so many. Nope, okay, I guess that's it. That's funny. I made so many. I need to like hang them up somewhere because I have them. But I guess I was, no, because the kid, Ryder must have been in school. So, yeah. The boys were so tiny in those pictures. Yeah, Ryder wasn't even 2 yet. But my, yeah, so I made all that stuff, right? And have tutorials and things. And so, like, Disney doesn't want people to come out and sell, like, Disney-themed knitting patterns, right? But I think that if something's offered for free, they don't mind. They just don't, because they enjoy fan stuff. And, like, the cast members or whatever, the staff at Disney World are, they loved my homemade ears. Because, like, you know, they see some come in time and time again. But, like, the Lady and the Tramp one had, and, like, these weren't all ideas I came up with. It had colors. But I had so much fun. I made, like, some clear ones with roses in it and gold glitter to be, like, the rose from Beauty and the Beast. And so making something for personal use is pretty much always okay. It's when you're selling it that it gets sticky. It's a bummer, but you definitely understand. Yes. And it's similar to how Disney World does not allow adults to come in costume with an asterisk. So I could not dress up like Cinderella. And this is why Disney bounding is a thing. It's because you go and you do something that emulates a certain character without being literal. Because they don't want someone to dress up as Cinderella and walk around, and because they have an actual hired person to dress up as Cinderella and walk around or do meet and greets. And they don't want an individual to go and be taken away from the actual people who are doing it. And so, therefore, they are careful with that. But children are allowed to dress up. So, but anyway, my point is that, like, I do stuff, right? But I'm just very, very careful about using words in my shop. The one time, the closest I ever get is if I do something that's inspired, it might end up in the description. but I try to be careful about that as well. The creativity of Disney bounding is amazing. I know. I really, really, really want to go back. And this is one thing that has me really sad because, like, we went in 2018, 19, it must have been, so it was New Year's 2017, 2018. We were going to go again in 2020. That got canceled for fairly obvious reasons. We then started to plan again for, so like we had 2020 all planned out and that got canceled. We started planning again for 2021 and also canceled that. And then, yeah, and then, you know, my mom died like at the end, like towards the end of the summer. And so like, we're not going to get to go do that unless I then convince my dad, which I might be able to do, but he might not be as interested in like in doing that, even though he might, like, because my mom wanted to do it. But I feel like I don't know how into it the kids will be. Maybe they would still be very excited, but like when they were tiny, like they were so excited about the characters, and I don't know how excited they might be now. I don't know. But I mean, they love Legoland, so maybe. But I'm the big Disney buff in the family, and so it's like mostly for me. So I don't know. Yeah. Some safety issues as well with adults dressing as cast characters. Yeah, I imagine that as well. But anyway. Thank you all for joining me today. I know that this is like, sometimes for the dye-along live streams, I dye like so many colorways and so much yarn, and so this one is more of just like a small one. But I'm overall doing okay-ish. But you know, just trying to find joy. It's hard. It's funny because on one hand I'm like, oh my gosh, what have I done all week? And I'm like, I've dyed a lot of yarn for Hanukkah, and that's a lot. Like in the last week, again, I've dyed, I need to wash a bunch of it, but I've finished dyeing 50% of the yarn for mini skeins, which again is only 3 nights. But I know exactly what I'm going to be doing for the 4th night, and then, you know, I'll look at everything that I've got and then try to pick things that feel different. So, exactly. So Beth said in the chat, Disney has very strict rules on what the characters can and cannot do, and they can't enforce that on random adult park visitors. Exactly. There are extremely strict rules and scripts and ways that they have to answer in character, and so, yeah. Gretchen says, I'm just glad to see you and have a chance to chat. Thank you. Oh, okay, that was that 30 minutes done. I was like, what was the timer for? Oh, right, but I guess I need to see. Okay, you know what we're going to do here? We're going to take this and steam it and put the yarn mop in here. It's funny how red that is. But yeah, we'll put the yarn mop back in here because may as well soak up whatever else is left and get a very lovely pink tonal. Although I think what I will actually do is turn off the hot plate. Okay, those handles are cool, and bring this over to the stove. And I'll heat that on the actual stove versus on the hot plate, because that'll let the hot plate cool off, so that way I can start, oh dear, you couldn't see any of that. Sorry, I forgot to swap the camera.
Yeah, I turned off, and did I unplug? Yes. I always unplug the hot plate when I turn it off. And so I took that over just to the gas stove. And so that way it takes a while for the hot plate to cool off completely. Sometimes I'll even just take it outside because I can hold it by there's like plastic edges and those don't get hot. But I just try to be very careful. But anyway. Oh, Iggy, I'm glad you enjoyed the live chat. I love it too. This is why, like, for Hanukkah, I try to do premieres because then I can be in the live chat, and I tend to like talk a lot. And sometimes the chat conversation goes completely off the rails. Sometimes I'll just share things like about the video. About what's hilarious is sometimes I'll see a point of the video, think of something, type it into chat, and then I say it in the video a few seconds later, and so like I forget. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a point I want to make. But then I make the point in the video. And so it's so funny how just like my brain, like rewatching it, how my brain follows the process. But Hanukkah is so much fun. I know I have it pinned in the chat, but I'm going to drop the link in the chat as well. My shop is also filled with hand-dyed yarn featured in my videos and dye-alongs. This yarn will probably, as soon as I edit the recap, this yarn will be in there. But, I mean, like I'm also slow. I still have to do the recap for the Mystery Surprise live stream. Yeah, and actually I'll probably be filming those voiceovers sometime next week. I filmed all the footage. I just have to like do it and not list, like I was very sad when I filmed that footage. So I'm like I've been avoiding it. But I will get to it. And at some point, I don't know for sure if it'll be October. At some point I'll be coming back for 2 videos a week. But for now, you know, like I did one unboxing a different Friday. I might do, you know, maybe next Friday will also be an unboxing or something. I'm going to try to just keep it simple and focus on getting Hanukkah ready to go. So I'm excited. I think that the 3 videos I've filmed so far, I think are going to be very exciting as just even a standalone video. And so that's exciting. But I always have to watch Hanukkah and SMS twice, once for the premiere chat and the second time to actually pay attention. Yeah, one of the nights of Hanukkah is my 40th birthday, and so I will probably not be here that evening. But I usually, like on my blog or in the pinned comment or something, try to indicate if I'm going to be in chat that night. And so, yeah, we also have to figure out, like, I don't know when, like, my birthday's on a Wednesday, and so I don't know, yeah, what things will be, what night, so. Oh, thank you. No, completely. But it's like, ooh, yeah. Because, like, there were years, like, during the pandemic where it's like, well, I can be there every single night. But then we started to have, like, holiday parties and stuff to go to again. But, yeah, I think 7th night of Hanukkah is my birthday. So, yeah. But anyway, I'm going to head out. Thank you all for joining. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate everyone's like patience and understanding as I am all over the place right now. I've been toying a little bit with like how I'm editing and stuff. But I don't know. It's fun to like just lose myself in a dyeing project and stuff again. But it's just also funny when I'm like, oh, what have I been doing? And I'm like, right, I've been working for something that'll be coming in December. And so who knows? Maybe I'll need to, who knows what I'll be doing schedule-wise going forward. I'm just trying to be gentle. And so count on videos on Tuesdays, and Fridays maybe will be a happy surprise.
But there are definitely at least like one Friday video coming out because I have like some lab partner videos scheduled for the end of October. So there is stuff. But yeah. But anyway, subscribe, all that jazz. And thank you all so much for watching. And I'll chat with you soon. Bye! Oh, and if you want to contribute your own dyeing projects for the dye-along recap, details are down below in the description. Okay. Bye, everyone.